every year it's like, oh, where's our team? We did so good. It's like, yeah, I know, but all the levels got to do good. So got to remember that.
All right. Yep. And here's where my disclaimer comes in. Guys, when we do the video work, we send out the highlights and you see our videos, we make all you guys look good. And that's the whole point of putting out these highlight videos, to make you guys look as good as possible. But unless you guys are actually a member watching those live streams with us, you don't really get the full, spectrum of how well a team is actually doing. We get to see all the way from when they're walking into the gate and when they're walking out of the gate, because for me and Coach Ralph, we're usually the first ones in, last ones out. In many cases, we're waiting for the gates to open up so we can start setting up. But we make you guys look really good. So sometimes you guys only see it through that lens. So if you're only watching our highlights, which we appreciate the hell out of, thank you very much. Chances are you're probably not getting like the full idea of where these rankings come in, because
that's why we call it a highlight.
Yeah, that's exactly why we call it a highlight. So know that we rank everything based on the entire franchise, how the entire franchise does. I know your 8U level just dominated, got themselves a Super Bowl and a trophy and everything, and untouched and all these crazy stats. I get that. But how did your 10U do, your novice or your rookies or whatever, your JV, your varsity, how did they do, right? Because everything is lumped into one team effort. And that's the way football is truly about. We had many discussions on whether we should rank the varsity heavier than the youngers, and we couldn't find any good way to do that. So we ranked everything absolutely evenly all the way across the board, because we just couldn't find a good, solid, logical justification to weight one level heavier than the others, right? Because those franchises where their younger levels are always really good and their older levels are not so great, and then vice versa. Especially this year, like Coach Mike was saying, we saw a ton of good varsity teams. Probably the most competitive, most well-coached varsity teams we saw this year, even from teams that we didn't even expect to be even that well-coached. And we'll get into that later as well. So